Hello, tubers. How are you doing today? Well, I hope you're doing well, getting closer to God, praying the rosary, and following Jesus in his ways. Today, I wanted to talk about a person who joined the Army years ago in WW2. His name was Desmond Doss. And Desmond Doss, when he enlisted in the Army, he was very much an outsider. Even his soldiers hated him. He had a fellow soldier said that when we go to battle, you're not gonna come back because I'm gonna shoot you myself. So I want to play this particular video for you guys and watch it. It goes for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and give you the reason why I picked it out. So here we go.
The medic who fought a war without a weapon. Desmond Doss was not your average hero. He would become a Medal of Honor recipient, the United States of America's highest and most prestigious military award, as a combat medic who saved many of his comrades' lives in battle without firing a single shot, because he didn't take a weapon into combat because of his religious beliefs. Desmond Doss was born in 1919 in the state of Virginia and was raised as a strict Seventh-day Adventist, a Christian denomination that believed that Saturday was the Sabbath and that the second coming of Jesus Christ was imminent. They also believed strongly in nonviolence and a healthy diet, based typically on a vegetarian diet. Doss had been raised with a strict belief in the Bible, and when it came to the Ten Commandments, he took them to be the core values of how to lead his life. When World War II started, he was conflicted as he believed the war was a just one, but he felt that to kill another human being under any circumstance was wrong. He was already employed as a joiner at Newport News Naval Shipyard, but nevertheless he joined the United States Army on April 1, 1942. He could have requested a deferment, but he wanted to do his patriotic duty. He was assigned to an infantry unit, the 77th Division, and presumed that his classification as a conscientious objector would not require him to carry a weapon. For Doss, one commandment of the Bible stuck with him the most: thou shalt not kill. He wondered why he was assigned as a rifleman and not in a medical role. His commanding officer tried to pressure Doss into carrying a weapon, as they thought he would be more of a liability than an asset in combat, but Doss refused. Interestingly, even for medics, which Doss would later become, it was common practice at the time to carry either an M1911A1 pistol or M1 carbine for self-defense purposes. The rules go that a medic under the Geneva Convention is not forbidden from carrying a weapon, but if a medic fires his weapon, he stops being classed as a medic, and therefore can be legitimately fired upon by the enemy. The regimental chaplain, Captain Stanley, would soon understand Doss's protests and helped him transfer from rifleman to medical training. To make matters worse, his fellow soldiers mocked his religious beliefs. When he was reading the Bible daily and strictly observing the Seventh-day Adventist tradition of attending church every Saturday, Doss continuously requested to be allowed to have Saturdays off rather than Sundays in order to follow his Adventist beliefs that Saturday was to be observed as the Sabbath. In the end, Captain Stanley took this up with divisional headquarters, and it was decided that Adventist soldiers would have Saturdays off, just as the other men had Sunday off. This in fact made Doss even more unpopular than ever with his fellow soldiers, as he was seen to have it easy. As he had Saturdays off, none were on base on Sundays to see him pull extra duties to make up for this. One of the squad's other soldiers summed up the company's feeling about him and his Saturdays off, complaining, "You get more passes than the general." As Doss was a strict vegetarian at a time when it was unusual, it meant that the rest of the unit viewed Doss with such distrust and hostility that one man in his unit even warned him ominously, "When we go into combat, Doss, you're not coming back alive. I'm going to shoot you myself." Doss eventually became an Army combat medic, saying, "While others are taking life, I will be saving it." The turning point for Doss and his relationship with his company came with their first 25-mile march with full field pack and rifle, something they were expected to achieve in 8 hours. The other soldiers thought Doss would be having it easy as he would be carrying no rifle or ammo that day, but his 2 canvas medical bags were almost as heavy and much more awkward to carry than any rifle. As the march progressed, the men started to suffer from exhaustion, numerous blistered feet and dehydration, some even passed out. And all the time there was Doss, always with a helping hand. Even to the extent that at the end of the march, he insisted on checking everyone's feet and administering medical aid where it was needed. By the end of that day, he had won the respect of his entire unit for his tireless devotion to his duty. For the first time, he was treated as one of their own.
Okay, well, that's the video. Hope you liked it. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention regarding this particular video. That's why I took it. Now, Desmond Doss was a soldier in the World War II, and when he came into the regiment, he was different. He was odd. He was peculiar, and so he was ostracized from his fellow soldiers. They didn't like the fact that he was not eating meat. They didn't like the fact that he was religious and reading the Bible all the time. And what also pissed him off was that he would have a day off on Saturday. Meanwhile, he would work extra hard on Sunday, but these guys never knew, so they thought they always he was extra special because he had more passes than they did, even though he was doing more work than they were. So he was different. He was odd, and he wasn't accepted. And he had to deal with a lot of that stuff, a lot of negativity, and but he kept on keeping on, so to speak. He was resilient and stayed to his beliefs. And so there was that one day where they had to do that long hike, and because he was a medic, he was able to tend to a lot of the soldiers that couldn't hack the hike. So what he did was, even though he was being ridiculed by these particular soldiers all the time, he was nice enough to mend to their injuries. And because he had worth, he was able to make a difference, and he was able to mend a lot of these soldiers' feet. And after he did that, the soldiers, they changed their mind in regarding to Desmond Doss. They saw that he had value, that even though he was different, because Desmond was still going to pray, and he was going to keep on reading the Bible, and he was going to keep the Sabbath, but they forgot about all of that because they realized that Desmond had worth. He was helping him out, and so he became one of them. And so I think that's really important. We're all different. Everybody is different. We're not all the same. Some of us are tall, some of us are fat, some of us got curly hair, and we're all different. And these days here, we have a lot of problems with people being different. And you're not gonna. The one thing I really wanted to mention is the way that Desmond was able to convince these soldiers that he was not as bad as they thought that he was because he was able to help them. He had value. He was giving back. So that made the bridge. That bridged the gap between him being different and them not accepting him. And that's what we have to do as a people. You just can't force people to like you. You just can't put on, say for example, you have a girl that you like and she doesn't like you. Just because you want her to like you, you can't make her like you. And you can't force things of that nature. The way that Desmond was able to bridge that gap is he showed that he had value. And that bridged the gap. He was a good person, a kind person, and people liked that. And you just can't, we can't have a government or the media or somebody tell me or not tell me what to like and what not to like it. That doesn't work that way. You have to bridge that gap by being valuable, to not being evil, to not being dangerous. You have to be kind and loving and giving. And once you do that, then people are going to accept you. It's not going to be because you're tall or you're short or you're fat or you're skinny, what color you are, what creed you're from. That doesn't make a difference. The difference is are you a good person or not? Are you able to be kind? Do you have any worth? Are you with me or are you against me? That's what it comes down to. So these are the things we have to think of in regards to the society and how to bridge that gap. by the media forcing us or not to force us to think what we should think. That's not going to work. We think what we think, and that's how it is. The only way it's going to bridge the gap is by kindness, by generosity, by loving, not by sticking a gun in my face. So hope you appreciate the video, and as always, God bless.